Seoul, 2 a.m. The kind of hour when the city pretends to sleep. But inside the Gangnam mansion, nothing slept. Behind sealed doors and drawn curtains.
The entry is here. We breach at 2200. Confirmed. Perimeter team in position. Good. Expect resistance. Move fast. Stay tight.
Kim Jae-won sat at the head of a long table. 12 men around him. Voices low. Words that could start wars being exchanged like quiet currency. Names. Numbers. A plan that would destroy 3 rival families before sunrise. Nobody was supposed to hear any of it. But Amara had walked down the wrong corridor. She stopped the moment she heard the voices. Pressed herself against the wall. Barely breathing. One hand gripping her cleaning cloth like it could save her. It could not. The door opened. Every eye in the room found her instantly. Every hand reached for a weapon. The lieutenant spoke first.
She heard everything. Kill her, now!
Amara did not run. Did not plead. Did not look at the guns pointed at her chest. She looked only at him. Kim Jae-won sat perfectly still at the head of the table, studying her the way a man studies something he cannot yet explain. 5 seconds passed. 10. The silence in the room was suffocating. Then he stood. He walked toward her slowly, stopped close enough that she could see the scar beneath his left eye, and he said 4 words that made 12 grown men go completely quiet.
Marry me. Tomorrow morning.
Nobody laughed. Nobody questioned it. Because nobody questioned Kim Jae-won. Amara held his gaze and said yes. No trembling. No hesitation. No fear. Just yes. As if she had been expecting the question. As if she had been waiting for it all along. And that was the part nobody in that room could explain. The news spread before sunrise. By the time the city woke up, the entire underworld already knew. Kim Jae-won was getting married. Not to a senator's daughter. Not to the woman 3 powerful families had been quietly negotiating for 2 years. Not to anyone who made sense. To a maid. An African maid. The whispers moved fast. Through back rooms and encrypted phones and meetings held in parking garages at dawn. His allies were confused. His enemies were entertained. His own advisors sat across from him that morning with barely controlled fury in their eyes. He listened to all of it. Then he said one sentence. The decision is made. And that was the end of the conversation. What nobody outside that inner circle knew was the real architecture behind the marriage. 3 rival gangs had been quietly building an alliance for months. A coordinated move designed to dismantle everything Jae-won had built. They had the numbers. They had the timing. They had the patience. But they had forgotten one thing. An old and ironclad rule of the Korean underworld. A rule older than any of them. A man's home is untouchable when he has a wife inside it. Marriage was not romance. It was armor. Amara sat across from him at a long table that afternoon. The contract between them was 3 pages. Plain, cold, precise. She read every word without asking a single question. Then she picked up the pen.
On one condition, you will never ask about my past.
He held her gaze for a moment, then nodded once. She signed. He told himself it was a transaction. Nothing more. A woman who was useful at exactly the right moment. Someone to occupy a role and then disappear quietly when the danger passed. He told himself that. That night Amara walked the east wing alone. The mansion was quiet. Most of the staff had retired. Only one guard remained at the end of the corridor. An older man. One of Jae-won's most loyal. A man who had served him for 11 years without a single moment of disloyalty. He saw Amara coming. And he stopped. Slowly, deliberately, he lowered his head. A full bow. Respectful. The kind reserved for someone of serious rank. Amara did not react. Did not slow her steps. Did not even blink. As if she had expected it. As if it had happened before. 3 weeks into the marriage, Jae-won began keeping notes. Not on paper. He was too careful for that. But in his mind. That precise, cold, cataloging mind that had kept him alive in a world designed to kill men like him. He noticed everything. The way she moved through a room, full of armed men without adjusting her pace. The way her eyes swept every exit, the moment she entered a space, the way she never startled at sudden sounds. A door slamming, a gun being chambered in the next room, shouting in the corridor at 3 a.m. Nothing moved her. Most people, even trained people, carried fear somewhere in their body, in the shoulders, in the breath, in the way the eyes flickered just slightly when danger entered the room. Amara carried none of it. He called his head of security into his office one evening. "Watch her," he said, quietly. "She must not know." 3 days later his security chief came back with nothing. No unusual behavior. No secret communications. No evidence of anything. Just a woman who cleaned rooms and walked corridors and looked at everything with those calm, unreadable eyes. Then came the night of the ambush. It was a Thursday. Just past midnight. 4 men came over the eastern wall with professional precision. Silenced weapons. Coordinated entry points. Someone had given them the patrol rotations. Inside help. Jae-won's guards responded fast but not fast enough. 2 were down before the alarm finished sounding. The remaining men scrambled into defensive positions around the main house. Jae-won moved toward his weapons room. Then he heard it stop. All of it. The movement outside. The scuffling. The low sounds of a coordinated assault. Silence. He reached the rear courtyard 30 seconds later. 4 men were on the ground. Neutralized. Efficiently. With the kind of controlled precision that takes years to develop and a particular kind of darkness to execute without hesitation. Amara stood in the center of the courtyard, breathing slowly, hands relaxed at her sides. She looked at the men on the ground the way a person looks at a problem that has been solved. Then she looked up at Jae-won standing in the doorway. She said only 4 words. "You should hire better." Then she walked back inside. He stood in the courtyard for a long time after that. The night air cold against his face. His security chief beside him saying nothing because there was nothing useful to say. Later that night Jae-won found her in the kitchen. She was pouring water. Sleeve pushed up slightly against the warmth of the room. He saw it. Just for a second. On the inside of her left wrist. Small. Precise. Architectural in the way only military insignia ever is. He knew enough about the world's shadow institutions to recognize the symbol. And what he recognized stopped his blood cold. It belonged to a unit that did not exist in any official record. A ghost division. Buried so deep that most intelligence agencies denied it had ever been formed. He looked up at her face. She had already pulled her sleeve down. And she was watching him. With those same calm, unreadable eyes. As if she had been waiting for exactly this moment. As if she had always known, it would come. He made the call at midnight. One of 3 contacts in the world he trusted with sensitive work. A man who could find the digital ghost of anyone who had ever existed. Birth records. Travel history. Financial trails. Military files buried behind 17 layers of government encryption. Give him a name in 40 minutes. He always delivered. Jae-won gave him the name. Then he sat in his office and waited. The city hummed quietly outside the window. Somewhere below a car moved through empty streets. The ice in his glass melted untouched. 50 minutes passed. The phone rang. The voice on the other end was different. Careful in a way it had never been before. Measured. Like a man choosing each word with both hands. "There is nothing," he said. Jae-won was quiet for a moment. "Define nothing. No passport trail. No biometric match in any database I can access. No school enrollment. No medical records. No family registration in any country. I ran the tattoo insignia separately. The system returned a code I have only seen once before. It means the file has not been hidden." He paused. "It means it was never allowed to exist." The call ended. Jae-won sat with that for a long time. He thought about the way she had signed the contract without reading it twice. The way she had named her one condition without hesitation. The way she had looked at him in that room full of guns as if she were the only person present who already knew how the evening would end. She had not stumbled into his world. She had been placed inside it. The question was by whom? And for what purpose? He got his answer 2 days later. A black car with no plates stopped at the gate just before noon. The man who stepped out wore a Western suit and carried no visible identification. He handed a single card to the guard at the entrance. The guard brought it to Jae-won without a word. On the card was no name, no agency, no country, only a request. Written in clean, precise English. I am looking for a woman living in this house. I will wait as long as necessary. He turned the card over. 3 words on the back. It is urgent. The foreign agent was turned away. Jae-won sent no message back. No explanation. No invitation. Just the gate closing and the black car eventually disappearing into Seoul traffic like it had never been there at all. But the weight of it remained. He carried it through the following days like something lodged beneath the skin. Invisible. Uncomfortable. Impossible to ignore. He was so focused on the threat outside his walls. He never thought to look inside them. Kim Jae-ho was 31 years old. Charming in the way that men are charming when they have learned that charm is useful. He smiled easily and laughed at the right moments and had spent his entire life standing exactly 1 step behind his older brother. 1 step. Always 1 step. He was tired of it. The decision had not come suddenly. It had been building for months. Quiet conversations in rooms Jae-won never entered. Small alliances constructed carefully. Loyalties tested and purchased one by one. The plan was clean. Both of them. The same night. No loose ends. It happened on a Thursday. Dinner had just ended. The house was settling into its nighttime quiet. Then the lights died all at once and the darkness that replaced them was not empty. It was full of movement. Gunfire came from 3 directions simultaneously. Coordinated. Rehearsed. The kind of attack that tells you immediately it came from someone who knew the house. Knew the blind spots. Knew exactly which guards to neutralize first. 2 men went down in the entrance corridor before anyone could respond. Jae-won moved fast. Back against the wall. Weapon drawn. Calculating exits. Then Amara stepped out of the shadows. Not away from the gunfire. Toward it. What happened in the next 90 seconds was not the movement of a maid who had learned a few defensive techniques. It was something else entirely. Something that belonged to a different world. A world of controlled violence and absolute precision where hesitation was the only thing that could get you killed. She moved through the darkness like she owned it. When the emergency lights finally flooded the corridor, 5 men were down. Jae-ho stood at the far end of the hallway. Exposed. Frozen. The carefully constructed mask of a loyal brother dissolving in real time. He ran. Amara stood in the settling silence. Chest rising and falling slowly. Eyes already finding Jae-won across the corridor. He looked at her for a long moment. She looked back. Then she crossed to where he stood and stopped close enough that only he could hear what she said next. Her voice was barely above a breath. You were never supposed to marry me. He did not chase his brother that night. He stood in the corridor long after the sound of retreating footsteps had faded. Long after his remaining guards had swept the perimeter and confirmed it was clear. Long after everything had gone quiet again. He was looking at Amara. And she was not looking away. They ended up in the study. No guards. No staff. 1 lamp burning low on the desk between them. The kind of light that makes honesty harder to avoid. He did not ask gently. That was not who he was. Tell me everything. Right now. She sat with it for only a moment. Then she began. She had been assigned 8 months ago. Before the job application. Before the reference letters and the uniform and the 6 months of learning which corridors to walk and which doors to never open. All of it had been constructed. Carefully. By people who were very good at construction. 3 governments with a shared concern. They believed his network was the silent engine behind weapons moving into regions that were already bleeding. They needed someone inside. Someone who could get close enough to confirm it and extract the evidence required to act. She had been chosen because she was the best available. She said it without arrogance. The way a person states a fact about the weather. He listened without moving. The marriage was not in the original plan, she said. But the opportunity appeared and she had taken it because it gave her access nothing else could. Then she stopped. Something shifted in her face. Barely visible. The first crack in that extraordinary stillness. But I stayed longer than the mission required, she said quietly. And that was not part of any plan. He understood what she meant. He did not say so. Before either of them could move through what that meant, her phone screen lit up on the table between them. She looked down. 3 words. Mission failed. Eliminate the target. She raised her eyes to his. They are not coming for me, she said. A pause so brief it almost did not exist. They are coming for you. She made the decision alone. That was the only way she knew how to make decisions that mattered. No counsel. No second voice. Just the facts arranged honestly in front of her and the willingness to follow where they led regardless of the cost. The facts were these. Her handlers had turned. The mission had been compromised from the inside, and now the man sitting across from her in that low-lit study had a target on him that would not disappear simply because she wanted it to. She stayed. She was the reason they kept coming. Her presence beside him was not protection. It was a beacon. But if she left, if she moved fast enough and disappeared completely and drew their attention back toward herself, maybe she could end it before it reached him. She waited until the house was fully asleep. Then she moved through it one last time. Slowly. Without a torch. She did not need one. She had memorized every room, every corridor, every soft place in the floorboards that groaned under pressure. 6 months of careful attention had made this house as familiar to her as anything she had ever known. More familiar, perhaps, than anywhere else. She paused outside his bedroom door. Her hand rested flat against the wood for a moment. One moment. Then she continued down the corridor. She left 2 things on the desk in the study. Her ring, placed carefully on the dark wood where the lamplight would find it first. And a note, folded once. Written in both Korean and her mother tongue because some things need to be said in the language closest to where they were felt. 7 words. If fate allows, we will meet again. She was gone before sunrise. No trace. No trail. Nothing left behind except the ring catching the first gray light of morning, and the faint warmth of someone who had been there. 6 months later. A small cafe. An unmarked city. A table near the window where the light came in gray and quiet. He had carried her ring every day since he found it on the desk. Not on his finger. In his coat pocket. Close enough to remind him that some things were not finished. Just interrupted. The door opened. She stepped inside. Same stillness. Same eyes that saw everything before anything saw her. She found him immediately. He did not stand. Did not speak. He simply reached into his pocket and placed the ring on the table between them.
Faith was slow.
But it always arrived.